we're going through the book of Revelation. Last week we went through pretty much all of chapter 11 of Revelation. And to kind of catch us up on that, just looking at my headings and all that stuff, we had the two witnesses, which common thought is like Moses and Elijah, but like they're called the lampstands. They're called the witnesses, which is the same language for all of those who were underneath the altar of God saying, "How long, O Lord?" And I could be wrong about all that stuff, but it sure sounds like kind of the church, and like that's like kind of a reference to the church, which could be a reference also including those Old Testament prophets as well. And then we kind of see this. It's this interesting thing where we see all this like amazing language of all this like heartbreak and heartache, but it's also all this amazing stuff at the same time. And it sounds like kind of this crucifixion narrative that's kind of going on here. So that's kind of interesting. And we kind of see that coming through here. Did anyone want to say anything more about chapter 11 before we go into chapter 12? And we're really getting into stuff with chapter 12 that I'm not real familiar with, but generally this group is pretty good about analyzing stuff. So you guys ready? All right, so let's read chapter 12. All right, I need to hit the right buttons here. And optimize for video, share. All right, here we go, chapter 12. Oh, there's Pam. Hi, Pam, come on in. Like that? Or you can, yeah. Have a seat. Have a seat wherever you'd like.
Anyway.
Like that. That's
take a chair, any chair.
And we're starting chapter 12 right now.
Here we go.
Now a great sign appeared in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his heads. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and his throne. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail. Nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Then I heard a loud voice saying in heaven,
Now salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren, who accused them before our God day and night, has been cast down. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to the death. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time.
Now when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time, from the presence of the serpent. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. But the earth helped the woman, And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
Okay, we got craziness going on here. Like, and like, I think that's the point. And so, like, I think we've got to kind of try to figure out what John is talking about here, because it's weird, it's odd, and so like that's and so and I think there's a lot of balls in the air that are being dealt with here. So with the thing we said right before you walked in, Pam, was about the two witnesses and then the witnesses killed and all that stuff. That kind of sounds like a crucifixion narrative. And all of that kind of going forward there. And, in the end of 11 kind of ends with this, and the temple of God was open in heaven. And I think Ed had a really good thought on that sounds like the curtain in the temple being ripped in two, and that God is kind of on the loose type of thing. So now 12, what stands out to you? What stands out to you? What's going on?
Before you get into this may not be exactly right, but about the woman with the 12 stars over her head, clothed by the sun and the moon under her feet.
Yeah.
I watched something on EWTN some time ago, and this person had where you could go back in his time in astronomy and all this, back to the time of Christ, and realize that it was a planet that was hanging in the sky and not just somebody conjuring up claim that conjured up a star when Christ was born. And then he went on and into this area, and it showed like it was the sun in the sky, and there were 12 stars up there with the moon. I mean, and that's
right.
Yeah, I mean,
More
that
flashback
actually,
type thing.
That was
that
actually something
chapter.
that was back in time, and
Yeah.
that kind of just blew me away.
Yeah, one of the commentaries goes into it like
Yeah.
that it was a flashback.
Okay, so I'm not the
into
only one. I wasn't sure if I was telling it.
I read.
You're right, no, that was in one of the commentaries.
Yeah.
That was talking about the Israelites, the prediction of Christ being born, and how they were out in the wilderness, how they were taking captivity. And that one commentary mentioned that possibly is what this 12th chapter was talking about.
Yeah, and then that just struck me.
Everybody you have to worry whether it's the right way to look at it, but I can understand where he's coming from on that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and this person was a person that was trying to prove the Bible wrong because he'd been abused as a child, and he's starting to find out all.
Right, everybody,
Even there's some physicality,
right,
on the earth that
yeah.
shows this stuff.
So you're saying that constellation was visible, and they're using that.
Yeah, and so
That
that.
constellation is the 12 stars, and you're seeing the planet.
But when you talk
That what you're talking
about the past,
Mhm.
the third of the stars falling down with the angels when Satan
Mhm,
left because he wanted to be higher than God,
mhm.
and that kind of shows that right there.
So we have this woman, that's clothed with the sun. So what they're talking about, just to try to clear it up as much as possible, that there are some that there was some constellations in the sky around the birth of Jesus. Is that what you guys were saying? That's
Yes.
around
That's what I'm
that
hearing.
that would have kind of looked like this. I can't remember. I read that, and I'm trying to remember what book that I read that in. And but I remember that was the gist of what's going on. And that's kind of what you were talking about
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
And so that would have been, and so that's something. Oop, there's a lane.
In today's world, you can go back and see that,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
correlate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Elaine. You, if you can hear us, well, we'll when she gets in here, we'll say hi. So we have this. You have this garden now. There's some interesting things with numbers going on around here, because in the first half there is a lot of good numbers going on, which is interesting. And so we got to deal with that a little bit. And so we have, she has this garland of 12 stars, and then bearing with a child, she cried out in labor and gave pains to the earth. So what does that sound like? What does that sound like? What do you think, John? All right, there she is. Hi, Elaine. Good to see you. Like that, we've already read 12. We're just starting. All right, we just read it.
I'm sorry, I don't mean.
Okay.
12.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what
Yeah,
we're
12
looking at.
tribes.
So the 12 tribes. So this sounds like kind of Christmas, kind of like that. That's that. It's almost like you could say Israel kind of birthing the Messiah type of thing, or you got this Mary image as well going on there. I don't know. What do people think about that imagery there, like a kind of a Christmas narrative?
Birth of Christ.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
Except she's screaming in pain and birth pangs.
Well,
And the baby's crying. And
No.
we always picture.
Well, yeah. No cry he makes is a
That's a very quiet.
is a song.
It's a song.
No cry he makes is a song.
At the time,
man wrote that song.
Yeah. Like that. That's that's
birth of the tribes then, or the birth of Christ.
But there's also, I think, I think the metaphor of someone juggling and having a lot of balls in the air, I think is valid here. I think because I think there's a lot going on. I think because remember Matthew's Christmas story. There's a lot of pain in Matthew's Christmas story. It's Matthew's Christmas story is a direct comparison to the Exodus account. It's where Jesus is born in Bethlehem, and then Herod tries to kill all the firstborn kids, just like Pharaoh does, and it's like the dragon is red here, which is, and we're talking about flooding, and the dragon's red. I think there's some Exodus balls still being thrown up into the air, along with this birth narrative and the woman that's going on here. I don't know quite what they mean, but I do think those are some of the balls that are being thrown in the air.
Wasn't red always the devil's sign?
Well, I think that's like.
Where did I get that from?
I think they're talking about blood of the lamb there.
Yeah. I mean, they could.
Well, the red dragon.
They get the red dragon.
Red dragon.
The
So-
fiery red dragon, And I think our image of the devil probably comes from.
That's why you see a red devil on TV. and cartoons.
Yeah, like that. That's kind of fiery red.
They only have 2 ones.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is, he only has 2 horns. That's because 10 is hard. 10 is hard. They can't even do it with cartoon fingers. So why would you think they would do it with horns? It's how it describes this fiery red dragon is it says that he has 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on his head. It says diadems in this one, but those are crowns.
The verse 9 said it was the devil.
Yeah. So it's and it goes
Down the 9.
it goes out of his way for us to know that he says. What does it say in the other ones besides the King James? Let's see, is that verse 9?
Yeah.
Let's
You
see.
going to 9?
Yeah. So
Great dragon.
the great dragon was cast out. That serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, is what mine had. Does it use both of them?
Devil and Satan.
Let's see. I'm going to go to
Who deceived
the
world.
interlinear here real quick. Let's see.
And the funny part is that when you read that Enoch,
Yeah.
that's what he talks, that Michael fought with the devil and threw him out, overcame him, when the devil wanted to be higher than God. That was in the.
Well, and that is what I was hearing also from this, that same idea. So
idea.
I want to look at the Greek real fast. And Elaine, I'll bring you into this fun here in a second. All right, here we go. Let me bring Elaine into here. Share. Okay. So we have Revelation chapter 12, verse 9 here. And was thrown out. The dragon was thrown out. And so that great serpent, who's ancient. So that's important biblical terminology. The ancient serpent, who is called Diabolos, so the devil, and Sanatas. And
Yes, Satanas.
the what?
Satanas.
Satanan?
Devil, yes.
Yeah. And so and this word here is important. Let me look at the Strongs for Satan here. Because it means adversary or accuser. And so
Accuser.
we see that accuser language being used later on there. So all right, so let's get out of sharing the screen.
Both ways, Diabolos or Satanas.
Yeah, like that's and I think that is there on purpose because it's like it's not. I think John is he's saying something and he wants us to see what he's talking about. And that's kind of my point of like there's all these good things on top of him. He's got 7 heads. You know, he's got 10 horns. You know, he's and there's 7 crowns, you know, diadems. And you know, and so like it looks good, but is the narrative that John is saying here that it looks good? It looks good.
Trying to fool.
It's trying to fool. Is that what's going on? Like that's one of the things I read over there. Like that it's because he goes out of his way in verse 9 to say like, hey, this is the bad thing. You know, he goes out of his way, but John normally doesn't do this good number stuff for the good characters, but he also never really says like, hey, here's the bad thing, you know, like over there. Is he playing with us in this narrative around this birth thing to say like, hey, this is the bad thing, right? Like that's and I think we're dealing with some old now. Don't misunderstand this word that I'm about to say, because some people could get bent out of shape about it. But like that, John is dealing with some old mythology, you know, like that. That's and you know, mythology is important and all these things. But you know, where verse 4 it says, his tail drew 1/3 of the stars from heaven and threw them down to the ground, basically. So Earth here is. Let's talk a little bit about heaven for a second. In what's it, 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians? I can't remember. One of the Corinthians, Paul says, I was caught up to the 3rd heaven, right? Like Paul uses these language. That is a indication there of how they viewed kind of how the heavenly realms worked. Because they probably didn't have a globe perspective of the thing. Like whenever we usually think we hear the word earth, I think we normally think of like this like sphere type of idea because it's earth. Well, earth kind of just like, if you say something tastes earthy, you're not saying it tastes sphery. You're saying
Tastes like dirt.
it tastes like dirt, you know, like that. That's you know, like that. That's like you know, like you till the earth type of idea. Is this idea of ground? Do the other translations, do they translate it earth, or that's verse 4? Verse 4.
Earth has a mind.
Yeah.
Earth,
He
is
cast
it
them to
earth?
earth.
Okay, like that's, and so when Paul is saying he's caught up into the 3rd heaven, what he's saying is you have like the ground where all this stuff happens, where we are right now, and we breathe the first heaven. It's kind of where the breathe and the birds are flying, and then the second heaven is kind of where the stars and all that stuff are, and then the third heaven is kind of where the gods are, or where God is, type of thing, you know, like that's, and so that's kind of Paul's language to how he's describing that he was caught up into the heavenly realms, because heaven is just the sky. You know, the birds fly in the heavens. These are terms that we know, you know, stuff like that. And so there's a lot of these terms are confusing when we say this. So, so what the reason why I'm making a deal out of this, rather than thinking about the sphere of it all, like think about like in the heavens and it came crashing down to the ground, you know? And it's a different, in my head, that's a different image than what I had when it was like, it's like, oh, this other realms and stuff like that, and all that stuff. But it's almost like all of a sudden this serpent who looks all good and holy, you know, who looks all good, is now being thrown to the ground, you know,
Throwing stars to the ground.
and he said throwing stars to the ground, yeah, and so.
Gotta wait for him to be thrown to the ground.
Yeah. So, and then the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth to devour her child as soon as it was born. Like, again, this sounds like Christmas.
Herod.
This sounds like Herod.
Yeah.
Like, this sounds like Pharaoh. This sounds like, you know, there's, like, you allow yourself to go in there. It's like, oh, this sounds familiar, you know? And she bore a male child who was to rule the nations with a rod of iron, which is an interesting metaphor there. But you know, I think you can see that the Messiah is there to come in that way. And her child was caught up to God in his throne. Is that a reference to the ascension of Jesus? Like, you know, I don't know. Like, could be. like that's I don't know.
The footnote in my Bible says that it's the ascension of Christ.
Yeah.
That's what the note says.
Yeah, that's what the note says. Yeah, like that's. Yeah, like that's. I mean, it sounds like that's what it is. It sounds like that's what it is. Yeah. And so, and then, let's see, the cubs were thrown to God, and the woman fled to the wilderness. So again, Exodus language again here, that this woman floods into the wilderness where she has a place prepared by God, and they would feed her there 1,260 days. Interesting number there.
Numbers again.
Yeah. But so she's, yeah. So,
12.
yeah.
Got a 6.
Oh, okay, all right, well, yeah, maybe. What is it in the Greek?
They fled into Egypt. What was that?
Yeah, that's kind of what I wondered. Sounds like, you know,
That same deal,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
she went to Egypt, was protected, and
That's,
Christ child
that would be
was
the
protected.
wilderness, I would say.
They fled and came back.
Over
Yeah.
almost 4 years, I don't know. 3,000 days.
Pour into one little chapter.
Yeah, I don't know what that number is there for. I'm gonna look at it in Greek though. Let's look at it in Greek real fast.
Put that number.
Let's see, what verse is that? The number, it's 6?
6, yeah. She fled into the wilderness.
Yeah. So you see those numbers there? George, you're the Greek expert. Like that, that's, yeah, so, so like the 1,260.
But how long did they go to Egypt for? Do you remember? How long,
Yeah, that's
when they
what I
went?
wondered.
I can't remember.
They were
3
I don't know if it said, it just said till that guy died.
They were there a long
Herod
time.
died, and then they came back.
Yeah,
I don't know how long that was.
Oh, how long were they in Egypt?
Oh, when they ran off,
After they
ran away.
Remember that?
Oh,
Right.
I know, really
Because-
sad.
oh, that's
I
an
know, they
interesting
said once they
idea.
heard that that governor was gone, then they came back, and then they still were afraid to go home. They went to Nazareth
Because they believed that when the Magi came, that Jesus was about 5 years old.
already, yeah.
That's just about right.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything in that or not. I'd have to do more studying on that one.
Yeah. That's just reading, you know, different people's opinions.
In chapter 11, it referred to the 1260 days also, the 3.5 years.
Right.
So 3.5 years.
Uh-huh.
So religious scholars, here's the AI overview of the question. So this is all Google. This could be 100% wrong, but they say 2 or 3 years they could have been in Egypt.
You're not saying no.
I don't know, but that's like a scholar thing, and they could be
Yeah.
getting
You're guessing too.
they're guessing, and that could be they're getting that from here too.
Yeah.
You know, they could be getting that from Revelation, like
I think
that.
they are.
Yeah, like that's, and so because they went out there after, the Magi are what caused them to go to Egypt. So like that's in child Jesus is not really the point of Matthew at all. It's not really the point of any of them. But let's see here. Okay, so I don't really know what to
The
do.
Magi that made him go to Egypt, an angel came and spoke to Joseph.
Yeah. Well, not the Magi. That's not what I meant.
Well,
Is
there's different accounts of when the Magi came, too.
Yeah.
so the Magi, like the child would have already been, I don't know, 3-ish, something like that, when they showed up to Herod.
Mhm.
And that's how I said they made him. They didn't make him. Herod made him fled, but they showed up. They were the impetus for all of that to happen. But I'm not sure. Does anyone notes say anything about that time frame? I know, like Elaine was just saying that that number continues on later on.
The footnote in my Bible on verse 6
Yeah.
says that the church is in exile in a world far removed from her real home, heaven, not a wasteland, but a place of spiritual refuge.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So it's so my note is interesting. It's like fled into the wilderness where she has a place prepared by God. God's deliverance of his people from Egypt, which is portrayed as a dragon here, is now revisited in the new Exodus. So let's talk about what we talked about at the end of last week. You have the birth of Apollo here as well. That is interesting. There's these interesting parallels here. So the birth of Apollo is Leto, I think Leto is his mother, and she's pregnant, and she's chased by this dragon, the serpent.
Hera.
Yeah. And who wants? And she's like the earth provides her protection or something like that, and she gives birth to twins. One of the twins is Apollo, and Apollo when he's 5 days old or something like that, he miraculously becomes like a man, and he's able to defeat the dragon, and all that stuff. So it's
She's cursed by the wife of, who's the wife?
oh yes, because she's
cursed by the wife because she's jealous because she's gotten a child from her husband.
Yeah.
Man, and then, or God, whatever he's supposed to be. And then, lost my train of thought.
So yeah, like that's, and
Do you think that's the same God they're talking about? That when they call Apollyon, he's called a destroyer. When you look up Apollo, he was a good person that was for music and science and poetry.
well,
I wonder if it's two different
and I think,
gods.
and I think
He was a Greek guy.
yeah, he's a Greek guy, and I think that's some of it is that the Roman idea of Apollo
Right, there was two
is
degrees.
super positive, and it's so positive that most of the Caesars like kind of viewed that they were kind of Apollo figures,
Right.
like all that stuff. Which I think that is why he's like, no, this is all kind of bad. I don't know if this has anything to play in there. The reason why I bring it up is because it sounds familiar, and it would have been everywhere back then. It would have been everywhere. And so, because this is one of the lead birthing narratives of Rome itself, of like, this is how Apollo came into there. So it would have been everywhere. That's why I'm like, I don't know what to do with it, but it's got to be one of the balls that's in the air. And so, but I think John, he's referencing that serpent from Genesis chapter 3. He's using it to describe the things of the Exodus, and he's using the things of the Exodus to talk about the church, Jesus, and the body of Christ now. And if you look at how he describes the wilderness to general understanding is a place like, ooh, there's nothing there, that's rough. But to an Exodus-minded Hebrew, the wilderness is where God is. That's where God protects you and sees you through. That's like when you think about that through their perspective, like that's kind of how the wilderness is almost this place where she is taken care of.
Yeah, because they say they feed her.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
should feed
So that's almost like a manna thing. Wasn't like Elijah taken care of or something like that? Kind of in a similar idea. Like that's the angels came and fed Jesus, after he was out in the wilderness. There's this idea that's over there. I just don't know what to do with the number. Like Ed said, it's got a 6 and a 12 in it, but which it does. That's why I wanted to look it up in Greek.
Well, that's the paradox, maybe.
Yeah.
The devil, good guy.
Yeah.
The right number of horns.
Yeah.
And then.
So then, verse 7, it talks about this great battle in heaven with Michael and his angels, with the dragon and his angels. They fight, but they did not prevail, nor was there a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, and the serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world, he was cast to earth with his angels, were cast out with them. So it's, yeah, you want to say something, Elaine? Oh, you just muted yourself. You were unmuted. Oh, hold on, Elaine. Elaine, you're muted. There you go.
In my footnote, when it says that Satan was cast out of heaven, it said it was his final exclusion. So he had been cast out before.
Yeah. So that could very well be. That could be very, very well be. I think the overall, I'm going to try to take a broad overview of this. Is that it's this thing that looks good. I think that's what the 7 heads and the 10 horns and the 7 crowns, diadems, I think that's what it says about it. But it's actually bad. It looks good, but it's bad. And there's this great war in the heavenly realms, and it kind of comes crashing down to it becomes grounded again, type of thing. And it's also kind of grounded and around any longer. It wanted to kill the child, the man child, but that is caught up to heaven, and it is brought down, over there. And if you see, like, let's see, verse, was it 9? Yeah, 9. 9's a very long verse. Like, it's called devil or Satan, who deceives the whole world, like that. And Satan is this connotation of accusing, and it's just like that. I think it kind of goes hand in hand with the deceiving the whole thing. So I don't know. Anyone have any thoughts about that?
It looks to me like it's the churches that are the Pharisees that are denying Christ, and they're still, to me, like that's the
Antichrist. They're saying
Christ isn't real.
Yeah.
And we're
the real church.
there's only God, there's no Christ. There's no
Okay.
Savior.
Okay, so it's one of these things that where it looks good.
Yeah, it sure looks good.
It looks good, but it's actually empty.
And
It's actually empty.
it's just
It's just a bunch of deceptions and all that stuff. That's not a bad way of looking at it, actually. Like that's, and I think that's kind of what's going on here, is that it's like, hey, there's emptiness here, and that's all being grounded. It looks like it's lofty and great, but it's being thrown to the sea, type of thing. So then, verse 10, heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now salvation and strength in the kingdom of God and the power of his Christ have come, for the accuser of our brethren, who accused them before our God day and night, has been cast down. So think about what's being said there.
The accuser.
The accuser, that's Satan. So let's look at, and I'll share this with Elaine. And okay, let me go back. Here we go. So let me go to verse 10. And so, like, if you look at, let's see here, where is it at? Has come in salvation and power. And then you have, that's a different word. Interesting. This is why we look things up. This is the only time this word shows up. So have come for the accuser of our brethren. Let's see here. Let's look at the Strong's number. Okay, it's in others. Let's see, that's Carreta. Like that's, yeah, okay, good girls. I should actually not try to read the Greek. So against the one of the assembly, the blade of the law, especially Satan, is, so it's connecting that to Satan there. Okay. So accusers is like, let's see, so you get that same idea that is being going on there. Like, so you have this one who has accused like his whole life, and now like he's been cast out. Like you see this great victory going on here. Did you see that? Like that's when we were reading this, that's what I kind of thought. It was like this loud voice in heaven, like this one who is always accused, the church, Christ, all that stuff, it's finally gone. Like it's been cast down.
Recognized.
Yeah. So verse 11, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to the death. And so they overcame. Remember all the language for the churches? Remember all those, what was that, the 7 churches there at the beginning? You got those things you have to overcome.
Yeah.
So we got that language again. And they overcame, but how did they overcome? By the blood of the Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
But they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their that is that testimony right there. That's martus. It's the same word for witness. Let's check that. I don't want to lie to you guys. Look again here. And so let's go back. And then that's verse 11, right? All right, let's see here. And they have overcome the reason by the blood of the Lamb, the word of their testimony. Yeah, that's martus. So that's the same word. So if we click on this Strong's thing there, and we scroll down, come on, give it to me. He didn't have enough. 30. I want to see all 37 occurrences. Come on. All right, yeah. See all of these revelations, testimony, testimony, testimony. Like that's like that. That's what we're seeing here. Like that. So, all right. Good deal. Good deal. Okay. So the testimony, and they did not love their lives to the death. Therefore, rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that his time is short. And so that's what I think Ed just says, like, if only, right? If only. So he and he knows that his time is short. So what does anyone have any thoughts to this? So he's been cast down, he's been defeated, and now he's grounded, right? He's grounded down to here.
No, he dwells among us.
Yeah. So anyone have any thoughts on that before we continue going?
What's going on now?
Yeah. So
That one verse that says that he goes without seeing weekend but devour.
yeah. So like that's so I think was that First Peter or something like that? That is like this is I think this idea, that same idea there is the same idea here that's going on in this Revelation. And that so when the dragon saw that he had been cast to earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child, but the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle. Now, what is it eagle or is it a buzzard? That's that she might fly into the wilderness. So again, we have this wilderness idea that goes forward here. I have a theory about that. We'll get to it here in a second. To her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time. Here we go again with that thing.
She was here before.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with time.
Was he talking about Israel there? Instead of just one, could it be just Israel as a whole?
I think so. I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of balls in the air going on here. I think the woman is Israel, but I think it's also it's I think there's some body of Christ language going on here. There's a lot.
Jewish remnant.
The Jewish remnant, yeah. So, and we got to remember in John's thing too. We have 2,000 years where we're removed from Hebrew heritage. John is not that far removed. He's not really removed at all. So he's seen how Israel has rejected the Messiah as he has seen it. Mm-hmm. And so it's a lot closer to him than it is for us. I say that I don't think us having heavy distinctions between us and Israel isn't helpful. I don't see it so much in the text. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I think we have to fast forward our understanding 2,000 years to understand that. I don't know if I'm making any sense at all when I say that, but it's looking at it through his point of view, he very much sees Israel in himself. So everything he's saying there would pertain to them as well. And so it's flight, and then we get some interesting time. So the time, and half a time, I don't know what to do with that.
Pastor, my footnote on that says a time, times, and half a time. It says 1 year plus 2 years plus half a year. So 3.5 years again.
Yeah. That I remember hearing that, and I couldn't remember where I heard it. And that makes sense. You start getting that kind of half sevens again. That keeps happening there. So this is what I think is interesting here in verse 15. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. There's all kinds of language that go on with this. That sounds like Red Sea narrative. That sounds like Moses in a basket narrative. That sounds like just general sea being scary narrative. Like there's all these things that are going on that I think are, again, multiple balls being thrown into the air. So he might be carried by the flood, but the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up its mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth.
That's when Moses split the Red Sea.
Yeah. Like it kind of sounds like splitting the Red Sea.
And Noah with the flood.
It kind of sounds like the flood narrative from the beginning of Genesis. Like there's a lot of this that it just kind of sounds like this general water narrative, and that and that God is kind of taking care of all of this stuff, and he spewed out his mouth. So the earth helped the woman, which is interesting language. The earth helped the woman.
helped her.
Yeah. And so what is that? What is that? Remember, the creation is good. The creation is good. God created the world and it's good. And yes, sin has come in and corrupted things, but that still hasn't changed that good thing, like over there. And is that talking about these grand flood narratives? Think about how, if we go back to this Exodus narrative and we call Pharaoh a dragon in this, and suddenly the Israelites, the Hebrew people, are up against the water, this flood, and you have a flood of chariots coming behind them. Yeah, and it's like, and all of a sudden the water parts and they walk on dry earth.
That's the one I think with the Exodus.
Yeah, the Exodus. Yeah, exactly.
That was the dry, almost different.
Yeah, and so they walk across on that dry ground and go into the wilderness, where there's this great mountain of God and all of that. But you also have, the great dragon wants to kill Moses, wants to like in the, yeah. And the dragon is enraged with the woman. He went to make war with the rest of her offspring who keep the commandments of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ. That's interesting that it talks about the commandments of God right there too, isn't it? Like, because what happens right after the Red Sea narrative, the crossing of the sea, it's the commandments.
They make the commandments.
And the children of God don't really care. They build a golden calf.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
Yep.
God, you're making us wander in this wilderness. This is awful.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to worship it.
They had a big party.
Yeah. And so like that's what I mean by there's a lot of balls in the air going on here. But when you back out of it, you can see it's like, oh, I can see this. Yes, there are dragons. You know, there are these pharaohs. What's this narrative that we've been talking about the whole time? There's these Babylons that are always around, and they may masquerade as angels of light. You know, they may masquerade as angels of light, but they're not. They've actually been cast down, you know, and their plans for destruction are foiled. You know, they try to flood this whole thing, or you know, and all that stuff, and they just get more angry and angry and angry, right? And we see that it's Herod, and we see that it's actually the temple people that are angry at Jesus.
Yes.
You know, that they want to kill him. Like it's these ones that are masquerading as these angels of light that's going on around there. And so it's constantly foiled. So I think when you allow yourself to zoom out a little bit, like we can get caught in the forest for the trees, but I think when you zoom out, you can actually, it's like, oh, okay. Like this isn't that complicated. Yeah, there's weird imagery all going on here. We got all these balls in the air, but at the end of the day, you're watching the juggling show. You know, like that's, you're watching there are dragons around us today that masquerade as angels of light, but they still get foiled, right? They still get foiled. And think about what that would have meant to those early Christians when they were reading this. They could see this all around as Caesars, as local Roman officials, as all these people are trying to kill them. You know, and they remembering the gospel narrative and how they're trying to kill Jesus, like and all this. It all sounds, you know, kind of right. You know, I think when we're kind of in peaceful times is when we don't really know what to do with this, and we try to make it mean stuff that maybe it doesn't mean. I don't know if that makes any sense.
And of course, the rest of her children are the Roman Catholics.
Yeah, the Roman Catholics. Yeah.
And then those who keep the commandments of God are the Lutherans.
Oh, is that how you look at it?
That's what it
Yeah,
says.
yeah. Is that what it says in the Lutheran Study Bible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't read it. Nelson would laugh.
Yeah, he would. And
No, I think it's just all the church.
yeah. And so, does anyone have any thoughts on these things?
It looks like that when they talk about the dragon having a short time, this is it. This is the last chance for him to.
So the victory's already won.
Yeah.
The victory's already won, and that's what we've seen. We're really not in any new territory. You know, it just keeps kind of reiterating that. You know, I've looked and, you know, and like it's the Lamb that was on the throne. You know, we're really not getting any new territory here. And so yeah.
I thought the 3.5 years that you brought up, 7, I did think of that, I just read it in 3.5 years, okay. But it sounds like something's halfway then completed, and will it come to number 7?
Oh, I think that's what
she was in Egypt.
Yeah.
You were talking about Mary there, you know, and then.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just thought that was.
I think the 3.5, because there's another 3.5 earlier, right?
Yeah.
Right, 3.5,
7 years.
Yeah. And so I think that is, yeah. I think that is, it was in chapter 11. And so
Chapter 11.
I think that is, I think you're seeing that being part of that.
That's kind of the old-
referencing the completeness, but it's just not quite there yet.
The Old Testament, they're talking about the 7 years all the time. It's like if they have slaves, they only have them for 7 years, and then it's you start over again.
Yeah.
And that part of that So that 7 word, like you said, it's a completion word, but,
Mhm.
and everything's anew. You know, you don't end up keeping all those slaves 7 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe that's why he references 7 so much, because that's, right, that's when this was written, those were the rules then.
Well, that's it.
They are the-
Well, you have like, I think 7 really means complete. I think 12 has the same kind of idea, but it's kind of like people, because it's 12 tribes of Israel, you get the 12 disciples, you know, like that's all these things, these numbers just aren't on accident. And, you know, and we have these like 6, it's not quite 7. It's
Yeah.
not quite 7, you know, like that's, and so when you see a 6, it's like, it should be waning about that. So, well, one of the sermon series we're going to do next year, right after Easter, we're going to do 1st and 2nd Kings, but we're basically doing it through Solomon and then the eyes of Elijah and Elisha. And so, like, that's what do we call it? We had some foolish wisdom. That's what we're calling it. Foolish wisdom. And so, but what I love, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is, I remember we were in this Bible study going through Solomon, and this is years ago now, and we were talking about it, and there's all these like good numbers, but all of a sudden it switches to bad numbers, and when you look at the details of it, the authors are saying all these glowing things about the temple, but it also throws in all these details like it was slave labor that was building. And so Solomon is using the power of Egypt, like to build this thing of God, you know, like, and so they're like, it's basically saying that like, I think that like this isn't that great, you
This
know?
is exactly what we had in mind.
Yeah, this isn't what we had in mind. And so that's what we're calling it, foolish wisdom and all that stuff. But I think we see some of these ideas that are going on here. This stuff is kind of clever. I don't know. We're 2,000 years removed from this and trying to figure out what all this means. But I think when we zoom out, you can see like, yeah, we see dragons to this day.
What does yours say on 16 when it says the earth held? Does it say the earth held?
I think so.
The
What-
earth came to help.
Yeah. So like, I think that's an idea of the creation being good. C.S. Lewis deals a lot with this in his books, where he like not C.S. Lewis, the other guy, Tolkien.
Oh,
Tolkien, like where, you know, like the trees come and help. You know, like the, you know, Tolkien really deals with this. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but I like that's like when you like that's oh really like that's I've never read it. I've never read it. Like, I'm not big into fantasy, and that's one of the reasons why. Yeah, but it's like, you know, I know enough about the stories that he's big on the creation coming and helping. You know, that there's this dragon, you know, in the midst of that story, and even the creation comes and helps do it like that. I think that helps us put in our mind kind of maybe what is in John's mind as he's writing these things. Yeah. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. So cool deal.
Parallels, the great eagle, they use them in the story.
Yeah, they have the great eagles in the story too, and all that stuff. Yeah, now we opened up a door into Tolkien, huh? and what's going on there? Like that's, and so good deal. Anyone have anything else they want to say about chapter 12? All right. Well, we can end right there. For everyone watching on YouTube on the recorded stuff, thanks for joining us today.